Hi everyone, in this video we're going to take a look at two very similar looking diesel locomotives that were both part of the British Railways modernisation plan of the 1950s, classes 15 and 16. Neither existed past the mid-70s in service. However, arguably the Class 15 was the more successful of the two designs, and in fact a Class 15 is in preservation. If you go along to d8233.org.uk, you can get details of the charity and see the updates. The video you are watching now is from their YouTube channel, on YouTube user D8233. I'll put links in the information box. It's all well worth a visit. Getting back to the models and prototypes, here are both Heljan models for you to compare. We'll now look more closely at the Class 15. The Class 15 was introduced between 1957 and 1961, was of Bobo wheel arrangement, maximum speed of 60 miles per hour and a tractive effort of 37,500 pounds. The Paxman 16Y HXL developed 800 horsepower. The pilot scheme awarded Clayton Equipment Company to construct a fleet of 10 Type 1 800 horsepower locomotives. The 16Y HXL engine drove British Thomson Houston (BTH) electrical equipment. During 1956 to 57, the Yorkshire Engine Company was subcontracted to build locos D8200 to D8209. During 1958 to 59, more orders were placed for identical locomotives, and this time Clayton built them. The locos became known as BTH Type 1s. Due to the Clean Air Act being rolled out in London, the BTH Type 1s were deployed to Devons Road Bow Depot in London and worked in the East London area. However, their reach was extended further to include cross-London freights, allowing, sadly, steam locomotives to be withdrawn. Now numbering 44 locomotives, they could be found at work on empty stock workings at London's Liverpool Street and on secondary passenger and freight traffic. As freight traffic by rail declined, so did the numbers of Class 15s, until in the early 70s there were just two hanging on for ECS work at Stratford and Liverpool Street. 4 survived in departmental use as carriage heating units. Now let's turn our attention to the Class 16. Outwardly very similar to Class 15, they employed the same Paxman engine, developed slightly more tractive effort at £42,000, but were less compatible as they used red square multiple coupling code. Introduced from 1958 and built by the North British Locomotive Company, GEC traction equipment was used this time. The locos were also shedded at Devons Road Depot in London. All 10 of the class were employed on similar duties to the Class 15s. However, before the last of the class was delivered, serious technical problems meant the locomotives were spending more time in Stratford works than on duty. The main issue was the diesel engine, which had a tendency to seize up. This was caused by inadequate ventilation, a fundamental design error. Another issue was water contamination of the fuel oil. As freight traffic declined in the 1960s, the Class 16s were soon deemed to be surplus to requirements, and all were sold for scrap during 1968. One notable working of a Class 16 was from Loughton in Essex to Brighton on the 22nd of May 1960. A difference between the 16s and 15s was that they had spoke driving wheels, something Heljan had represented rather well. I hope you have enjoyed that brief history of our railway heritage, demonstrated by my two lovely models from Heljan. One can only wonder what things may have looked like had freight traffic not slowed down, and if the 16s had been better designed. I guess we shall never know, but at least we can look back.